Добар ден, почитувани, добро дојдовте во неделното интервју на Радио Слободна Европа. Гостин оваа недела е директорот на Националниот демократски институт, господинот Крис Хеншо. Mr. Henshaw, it is clear from reports that the local elections were calm, but there seems to be a developing debate about fairness. How do you view the electoral process now that all of the voting is concluded?
We take our starting point from the ODIHR report, which also have been picked up. April seems to be a period for several reports. So we've got the European Commission report and also the State Department Human Rights report. And all of these reports point to the elections and to two issues. One is about the impartiality or otherwise of the media as part of the local elections, and the other issue is this sort of lack of delineation between the role of the state and the role of the party as part of the election process. And on both those issues, serious allegations have been raised, and they have been reported on in the ODIHR report that came in after the first round and the second round, and they are referenced as well in the European Commission report and the Department of State Human Rights report.
Representatives from the non-governmental sector note that the public administration is still being used as a sort of voting machine for the ruling party. Are centers of power attempting to influence what is in fact a private decision?
Well, that's where NDI's Code of Conduct firmly states it's about free and fair elections, and free and fair elections are about individuals being able to make up their mind without any pressure from anyone in terms of which way that they wish to vote.
Has that been the case on these elections?
Well, we're back to the ODIHR reports, and the allegations there that need to be followed up are saying in many cases there is evidence to show that that is not happening. And so it needs to be followed up. It needs to be looked into, both in terms of specifics and generalities around these issues.
Yet these reports are being interpreted as generally positive. Is it good to generalize these reports?
They are positive on one respect. They're saying the turnout was good. They're saying that election day was peaceful and that there were very few incidents. But we're again back to this issue about impartiality of the media. Let's take the media as a good example. In terms of the media, let's take, Journalists Without Frontiers, Journalists Without Borders, their media index. In 2009, Macedonia was 34th in the world. It was number one in this region from 9 countries. In 2010, it was 68th. By the time we got to 2011 and 12, it was 94. Presently now, it's 116th. And of those 9 countries in the region, it's 9th. NDI, as part of its Code of Conduct campaign this time, we were very keen on providing the opportunity for the public to make up their decisions on candidates by introducing a series of mayoral debates. We started this process way back in October, November. We reached agreement with the 4 major parties about this. We reached agreement with the State Electoral Commission, the Broadcasting Council, and MTV. And we moved through a planning process whereby these debates, we brought somebody from the Presidential Commission on Debates from the United States, an executive director, somebody who'd been responsible for the last 4 presidential debates in the United States, to work here with us, with MTV. We did polling in 12 target municipalities to make sure that we had a threshold on which we could decide who the candidates were and what the question should be based on. So we did a lot of groundwork in readiness to this. And then, with the independent state broadcaster, we were unable to reach agreement, principally on those municipalities where the debate should take place.
Did the public broadcaster offer any reasons as to why certain municipalities may be included and others not?
The public broadcaster gave our list, and it was not acceptable. As to the reasons to that, I think you need to go to the public broadcaster and ask why were these debates not held. There is a line in the ODIHR report that makes it quite clear, and again it's referenced in the European Commission report that says public debates were not held on MTV1 because both ODIHR and the European Commission were aware that we were planning this because we were very public about it. And we certainly wouldn't have gone down the stage where we'd got to as part of this process if we hadn't reached agreement last October and November.
Yet that proposed media legislation has come under fire. Media representatives claim that having the government form a body that's going to supervise the media is not in fact contributing to media freedom. How do you view this situation?
In terms of NDI's remit here and its work, we don't work directly with the media. We work, at the moment, our programs are directly with Parliament. The question you raise would be an excellent question to be placed before the committee in Parliament as part of this public hearing, and it would be an excellent angle to pursue. NDI's worked with Parliament over many years on improving the public hearing process, whether it's legislative hearings before legislation is adopted, or whether it is oversight hearings after, to review legislation on its effect, is working on the process. And what we've always argued is that you improve legislation by having quality hearings and bringing in the expertise. So the question you've just raised, it would be an easy thing to do to bring those experts, and Macedonia has them, on the media to take part in such a hearing.
Before the elections and during the vote, the hot issue were the expat voters, specifically the voters from Pustec. There are allegations that they all acquired IDs in one day and all at the same address. On the other hand, they claim that they have the right to vote in the first place. Is this an irregularity?
Well, that is something that can be easily addressed post when we're expecting about 4 or 5 weeks the full ODIHR report to come out. So in this particular example, if, as the allegations ascertain, there are 20, 30, 40, 50 people, I'm not sure the exact numbers, registered at one single address, then cleaning up the voters list should be able to look at that. And if, there are such addresses with large numbers of voters, looking at, did these people actually vote on voting day, and following the trail all the way through. And so addressing ODIHR's concerns, which have already been raised, and they were raised by the European Commission report. The European Commission report also pointed out that as part of the March the 1st agreement that brought the opposition back into the process, that the electoral list needs to be looked at, and it needs to be cleaned up. And this would be done, it was an agreement that this would be done after the local elections were over. So it would be possible, as part of that process, to follow this trail all the way through and clear it up for once and for all. Were these genuine voters, resident here, with the right to vote, or was something else going on?
Many view this as a done deal, so the elections are over, the voting is over. Why is this not a good practice?
Well, because there is always going to be another election. We know next year there's going to be presidential elections. So if we haven't got it right so far, let's get it right for the next one. Let's make the Code of Conduct for Free and Fair Parliamentary Elections, NDI's Code of Conduct, let's make it a real living document as part of this process. We are committed to running with the code for each election. We don't see it's not a legal document, it's a good practice document. Some of the allegations reference what is legal issues, some of them reference good practice.
Wouldn't public pressure be needed in order to motivate parties to implement these changes?
I think public pressure is something that is needed, but it also needs to be a commitment from all parties, because you have to recognize you win some elections, you lose others. My own experience in the UK before I came to Macedonia, which is 9 years ago, so I've seen 9 elections here altogether. My own experience is that, you want a level playing field, because what can work for you in one election can work against you. And it's about a fair democratic process. Elections are a key cornerstone of democracy. If the elections don't work and they're not right, then democracy suffers. And there is much that has gone on in elections here over the years that is improved, but there is much still to improve. There are challenges ahead, and let's address them.
Thank you, Mr. Hensho.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Тоа е се за ова неделно интервју на Радио Слободна Европа. Следната средба за 7 дена.